What up, YouTube? We're back at it. I'm just gonna finish off chapter 5 right now. I look like I'm going to Hawaii. Sometimes you gotta throw on a little summertime ish. Why not? Um, we're looking at some red. I'm just gonna finish off chapter 5 right now. Just get caught up. I got 16 minutes. We'll call it a lunch break. Is my lighting fucked up? Nah. I got a spinning wheel. Love those things. My car wouldn't work very well if the wheels didn't spin. Do me a favor, if you're new here, if you're not new here, run over and support Ren. Go like and subscribe if you like what I do. Please like, comment down below, subscribe. Appreciate it very much. It does help out the channel. Best way to get me is on Patreon. It is not on the screen. Boom. That's where a lot of my requests come from. So jump over there, say what's up. It's free to join. Poke me, send me a DM, whatever. Let's go. Go. See, this is what happens with these wheels. They don't always spin. You see those Waymo cars, that pull out into traffic. I'm really hesitant to I want to check it out just for the novelty of it, but I don't want to die. Let's go.
I tried to cling on to music in whatever ways I could during the time I was sick. During my time in Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get myself out onto the streets and I'd go busking, about once every 3 weeks or so. It was my second year in Brighton, and I remember one evening heading home with my guitar and my busking amp after a couple of hours of playing on the street. I remember hearing this amazing ethereal voice while heading through the lanes, and I saw that it was coming from this 16-year-old kid. I've always had a deep admiration and feeling of camaraderie for buskers. There's something about the willingness to be able to bare your soul to a street full of strangers that really moves me. I noticed that the kid didn't have an amp. He was singing totally a cappella, but you'd only hear him if you were within a few meters of him. I knew from years on the street and singing a cappella than myself that an amp can change everything. I had this compulsion to offer him mine. I approached him and I told him that if he plugged in and sang while I played guitar, the whole street would stop in its tracks. And I was right. His voice soared across the street and people started stopping. Not long after, we had the whole street's attention. Something quite magic was happening. This was the first day that I met Sam Tomkins, someone who would be integral to my whole life changing later on. He had a friend with him, this guy called Connor Honeyset, who would later go on to be my manager. For now, they'd just be a couple of...
I was gonna say I've got emails to Connor. He worked out my YouTube issues initially with the dealing with copyright nonsense and whatever. Sam, I haven't checked out a Sam video in a minute. Go support Sam. Go check out Sam as well if you guys are new to this world and or catching up at all. Definitely go check out his solo stuff. Not just his collabs with Ren, albeit those are great too.
The teenagers that I'd off the house.
He's got this this. It's like a Bieber, JT-esque kind of. His range upstairs is crazy.
Be integral to my whole life changing later on. He had a friend with him, this guy called Connor Honeyset, who would later go on to be my manager. For now, they'd just be a couple of teenagers that I'd have to help out on my way home. It's funny how life works like that. I kept up to date with what Sam was doing on social media. There was a part of me that felt like his successes allowed me to live vicariously through someone else who lived an alternate reality where I never got sick. He was getting videos on SBTV, writing and featuring with some amazing artists, and there were quite a lot of similarities in our writing styles, and all at such a young age. I wasn't really able to do any of that stuff at the time. I was mostly bedbound with the exception of the odd day that I'd be able to go busking. It could have been very easy for that feeling to turn into jealousy, but it never did. I felt truly proud of him. Years later, we go on to write a song together called Blind Eyed, which would transform the trajectory of my whole career.
Great song.
During this time, I was still desperately jumping from one treatment to another treatment. And now that my diet had become more limited, I was trying new diets with no luck. As the options in the alternative health world started to dwindle, I started searching for answers in the divine. In the former years, I had
my favorite movie. Yes, he did. All right.
Moments where I found myself sitting in churches, talking in tears to whoever might be listening, or experimenting with energetic healing modalities like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists.
Not my favorite.
Once you exhaust all rational explanations and treatments, the irrational suddenly starts looking more palatable. I had a skeptic's mind, but I had nothing to lose because there were no other good options. My friend Momoko's mother was from Japan. She aligned herself with a sect of Buddhism called the Nichiren Daishonin. They would chant a...
He said that really well. Like he's very familiar with it.
Japan. She aligned herself with a sect of Buddhism called the Nichiren Daishonin. They would chant a repeated phrase over and over again while holding prayer beads. The chant would go, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, over and over again. Its intention was to align you with your innate Buddhahood, to cleanse you of any bad karma and put you in alignment with your true destiny on earth, to find peace, to find tranquility. Momoko's mum...
Surprisingly cultured for a dude locked in a room for half his life. What are you doing with yours?
Gifted me with my own set of beads, and I began to chant every morning. Eventually I joined a group in Brighton after a serendipitous meeting with an incredibly eccentric, bright, colourful suit-wearing piano tuner. He spotted my beads and he grinned at me and he pulled out his own. We'd sit in a small group and we'd chant for hours sometimes. There was something comforting about trusting the course of my life and illness to an incomprehensible power outside of myself. I spoke openly in these meetings that I loved feeling part of something, but that I really struggled saying with certainty that I believed in it. This was the issue I faced with every religion I temporarily aligned myself with looking for answers. Something in me couldn't bring myself to take ancient texts as gospel, all too aware of how man twists so-called spiritual doctrines to suit his own power-hungry pursuits. I wanted divine proof. I sometimes screamed at the sky or the waves and begged for it. I was answered with sickness.
Screamed at the sky or the waves and begged for it. There's a lot of music that kind of revolves around that statement.
If there was a creator, I was angry with it. The irony was that I envied people of faith. I felt like people who truly trusted themselves to a higher power seemed to possess a level of calm and acceptance that I didn't. One of my stranger encounters was going to see a shaman. The shaman, of course, was a middle-aged white woman in a quite nice-looking cottage in Brighton.
Of course.
She told me to lie down, and she proceeded to lean over my body and made noises like coughing up phlegm, while speaking an unknown ancient language that seemed to include whistling noises. After about 20 minutes of making distressed groaning noises over my back, she paused in contemplation for a while, and proceeded to tell me that I'd been killed by a sword in my past life. She made sucking noises,
hence the referral from the last video,
near the supposed stab site on my chest, and then she spat into a bucket. She then placed a little stone into my hand, and she told me that I had to bury it on a high hill in Brighton on the next full moon. The most depressing part of this story is during the next full moon, I did indeed find a big hill, dug a small hole, and I buried the stone in it. Surprising to say, fuck all happened. It was this...
Dude, when modern day medicine, you know, when you've sort of tested all roads, avenues, has failed you over and over and over and endlessly. You start taking to religion and faith and really anything you can grab a hold of. If you walk by a damn stranger and figure out what put a smile on his face that day, ask him, and you're like, fuck it, I'll give it a shot, right? They're really interesting because, you know, just, I mean, those are not, I mean, I'm not saying anything, you know, discounting religion and faith as a whole. I'm just saying, like, something that is otherwise so foreign to him. I'm sure, you know, Buddhism as a whole, just the entirety, I mean, not really knowing much about it beyond the fact, you know, what he learned from Momoko or whatever. And just testing different things and, you know, seeing what might work. I mean, what's after that? What types of things do you where does that road end? It's interesting how many things you know, sequences and cycles and fucking experiments you go through to try to, you know, I don't know. I guess it's just eggs in many baskets, right?
This journey into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience. I located a therapist online who had claimed to overcome ME herself. She specialised in it and dealt with people's past trauma, but also worked with energies like Reiki. I had to get the train to where she lived. She met me in the car and drove me in silence back to hers. There was a bit of an unusual energy about her. I've always been really good at reading people. I can't quite explain it, but sometimes when I meet someone, it's like I have a sixth sense for whether or not they'll play a significant role in my life. This person's energy felt alien to me. When we arrived at her, she told me that she sometimes would consult with her horses about people's health conditions. It was at this moment I knew that she was probably insane. Nonetheless, I shared a lot about my life. We got into the trauma of living with sickness, what it was like to constantly mourn your own life. It was comforting at first, and it felt like a safe space, until it got a bit weird. One day she offered me a glass of water before a Reiki session, and during the session I fell into a deep sleep. When I came around, multiple hours had passed, which was peculiar for me. I usually have issues with sleeping and couldn't drift off, particularly not in unfamiliar environments. She assured me it was total normal and to get plenty of water, and I thought nothing of it. Lines started getting somewhat blurry when she'd invite me for meals with her and her husband. I took it as friendliness, but I noticed that she started messaging me outside of clinic hours. One time I agreed to create music for her in exchange for some extra sessions. Not long after, I started getting strange messages in my Facebook inbox. She started telling me how she knew that all my previous songs had been about her, which they hadn't. When I dismissed this, she would sometimes message me saying that she was outside of my house, telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together. To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness. So having someone in the position of trust abuse their position like this shook me.
How much money would I pay to figure out where that person is now? Watching certainly all of Ren's journey, and we'll call it successes, transformation, out there with a sign on every corner she can find, taking credit for it. I'm sure that's 100% her doing. Everything that he did is definitely not for her. If you listen to most of his songs, they're all in relation to her horses. If you guys didn't pick up on that, I would go listen to his discography, all of it. Run it back. It's absolutely if you didn't get Equestrian Feels with the first Ren song you heard, like mine was High Ren, as it was most people's, right? He's not talking to an alter ego of himself. He's obviously talking to a horse.
It shook my trust in therapy even more. It shook my trust in people in general. I told her to never contact me again, and I blocked her, but she would still occasionally get through on other numbers. One time she'd phoned my mum's house relentlessly. My mum, knowing the details, told her to stop harassing me and threatened to get the police involved after things which went silent. This was also the year that I met my second ever girlfriend, who I'd later be engaged to for a short amount of time. My little sister had already set the relationship up in a...
I don't like that transition right there. To where I met my girlfriend, my second girlfriend, who I'd later be engaged to. Pause. Slight pause. My little sister, we need a better transition than that.
Mind. She met this girl in Bristol who she got on with super well, and somehow she wingmanned me and planted the seed in her brain that she'd be perfect for her older brother, me.
Playing wingman.
My sister's friend had moved to Brighton, but I was blissfully unaware of this matchmaking. At this point, I was living in a house share in Rose Hill Terrace in Brighton with some lunatics I'd met at Ben's house, and Momoko had moved down from Cornwall. The house was only meant for 2 people, but Momoko and I had pretended we were married and pretended that we were going to have a baby to be able to get it. As soon as the deed was signed, we moved in with about 5 other friends, one living in the living room, one in the attic, one in the study, one in the conservatory. It's safe to say rent was pretty fucking cheap. One night my friend Luke was throwing a party and she rocked up with a few of her friends. My sister had pretty good taste in girls and I had a crush on her instantly. At some point in the night we both ended up lying on my bedroom floor on a bunch of sofa cushions while about 6 other people were sleeping in various places in my room. One somehow in the upper compartment of my wardrobe. True story. She asked me to tell her a bedtime story and I made up the most unhinged story I could think of. By some sort of miracle she found my madness endearing and we ended up kissing a lot and staring into each other's eyes till we fell asleep. It's strange navigating a relationship when you're sick. I couldn't go out to eat at restaurants because I was allergic to everything. I didn't have the energy to do most normal things that couples do. Some days I'd be so full of brain fog that my personality disappeared, and it was hard to explain that to someone without them thinking that maybe you were just being a bit off with them. I think losing Joe, losing Callum, losing the record deal, losing my last girlfriend, It had all made me wary of getting attached to good things. Quite a lot of my illness made me feel ugly, and it's hard to accept love when you feel ugly. Nonetheless, she did love me, and with time our relationship grew. It was around this time I was contacted by a woman called Jennifer Breer, an incredibly inspiring woman whose journey seemed to parallel mine. She was an incredibly ambitious PhD student at Harvard who one day was struck down by a mystery illness that confined her to a wheelchair. She spent most of her life tirelessly searching for a way out. She was doing a Kickstarter to raise money to make a film called Canary in a Coal Mine. It would later go on to be renamed Unrest, and it would go on to win multiple awards, and it's still watchable on Netflix to this day. It's an incredibly important and very moving documentary about the horrors of living with ME. I recommend everyone checks that out. At the time, I started health blogging. I created a series of video diaries that I named Me vs ME. It would be a video document of my various trials with different alternative treatment approaches, and generally a look into the life of someone with a chronic illness. I didn't know it back then, but those videos would save my life. I guess I was
Dude, each of those outfits were featured in like an older REN video, I'm pretty damn sure.
Occupying a place that was needed, as quite quickly many people in the chronic health communities gravitated towards my videos. Every day, I'd be sent messages telling the stories of the people who had fallen in between the cracks in the floorboards. There was heartbreaking stories. Stories of frustration and confusion. People mourning the people that used to be. Some who were new to this world. Some who had been there for decades. I tried to help them in whatever way I could. I tried to comfort people. In my own little way, I became somewhat of a spokesperson for the voiceless. I felt their pain like it was my own. This new pursuit gave me a sense of purpose that I desperately needed. Without purpose, I felt useless. I made a lot of friends, and I'd write to them on a daily basis. Some of those friends died. Some of those friends decided to take their lives, and they were wicked people. I talked to them a lot. It was this.
See, this type of shit is the perspective that a lot of people may not know. Because honestly, like in the past, like his growth trajectory, you know, sort of, right? In the past, like year and a half, 2 years, couple years, and a lot of people, I feel like that were turned on to his stuff in that time, like saw a lot of his recent, like a lot of the music he was putting out kind of routinely was a little less of his vulnerable music and kind of a little bit more of his fucking around, just, you know, playful, right? It's not as much a window into REN as it is him taking a chance to, I mean, maybe unleash, you know, and unload some thoughts into some tracks, but more so just like playing around with things. And I mean, he was doing a lot of different things that just were, you know, just screwing around. This type of shit is that kind of that great sort of glimpse that I think a lot of people, it's valuable for people to know, who have, you know, caught on to him, his story, or his music, and his artistry as a whole. But I think a lot of this stuff goes lost on what makes him tick, really. No pun intended, no tick jokes, but what made him in a lot of the stuff that he puts out, and maybe to help understand a lot of his lyrics, you know, when you get some context like this type of stuff.
That ultimately made me decide to stop, but that wouldn't be until years later. Immersing myself in the horrors of this illness and trying to carry some of the weight for the others while I still wasn't strong enough to carry my own eventually took its toll. Jen Breer had found my videos and she asked me to make a song for her documentary. I was honoured. I wrote a song called Patience.
Oh, that's a great song. He's yeah, this might have been on her channel. I did this about a year ago. He just sitting on a damn couch, and I didn't know if I should post it because it wasn't on his channel at the time. It might be now. I think, if I'm thinking of the right video, and it might have been on her channel. It might have been on her channel, actually. I have to look back at that, but that song's great. There's, speaking of vulnerable, there's like this this super young Ren, vulnerable innocence in that song. I know that song well. I've heard it a bunch of times.
I'll leave you with a video taken at the time to finish off this chapter.
And I've learnt some lessons that will be so valuable.
By the way, this isn't about his lessons or his life. This is, again, this is about horses.
For like, so it's a blessing and a curse being this old, because it's completely changed me. Like, it's turned me from a little cocky teenager into somebody who's quite this, I guess, prepared for things now. Like I feel like once I've gone through this, I'll throw anything at me and it'll be okay. But at the same time, as much as I see it as a blessing, I hate it. I do hate it. I think it was Thomas Edison that was like, I haven't failed, I've just found a thousand things that don't work, which is kind of nice to look at it that way, like I'm just eliminating things. But it really challenges my mind, and yeah, it's just gotten to the point where I'm spending, I say, like 95% of my life in a bedroom, which kind of sucks, because my mind is in such a different place in my body. My mind craves life so much.
It's alright, it's okay, I'm feeling brave, gonna face this day. It's okay, it's alright, no tears will kiss my cheeks tonight. And it's all good, and I'm just fine. My words ring out like hollow shells. Just slow down, it takes time, but time moves slow, I know this well. And my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. But for every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me. This world is quite scary, I know that, 'cause I've been here for some time. But all that prepares me for a day when I can truly shine. 'Cause I've been so broken, and picking up fragments of myself, I'll glue them back together, so I can stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. For every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me. Dust the cobwebs off this sheath, and I'll take the sword of my belief, and in this storm I will not flinch, and I will not move, no, not an inch. Because I have the strength of a mountain, I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I'll have the heart of a lion, and the stars, they burn bright inside of me. But although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
It's it's weirdly positively optimistic in light of endless painful failure. you know, um, and the lyrics mimic that to a T. Um, I love that old Ren stuff. Again, not that I don't like. It's very different. He's a genre bender, right? Um, but it's you know you don't know what he's gonna do, but it's usually always gonna be good. Um, but I tend to really like just Ren acoustic singing guitar, um, and that vulnerability that we all love. Is definitely something special in him. But um, cool. Well, I got a flight to catch to Maui. I don't really. I was just gym, shower, and then like I don't know. I was like, what's gonna brighten up my Monday? And I was like, I'm gonna get fucking I'm gonna get a little I'm gonna get a little loose with it, yeah. I'm gonna hang loose with it, right? Um, and here we are, little festive, a little colorful. Um, a day late though, right? Do me a favor, like I said, go support Ren. I'm caught up. Uh, I know that there's some stuff on other channels and things that I've missed. I've missed nothing on his own channel. So, but anyways, yeah, go support Ren. I think that these again, I think these are great for offering perspective, and I'm the collaboration of it all is is super cool when it's all going to be said and done and sort of laid out. I mean, you're going to get the length of a movie out of Ren's story, and I think he's doing that on purpose because it provides really good context, and I would suggest anybody new to Ren maybe to wait on until this is done, run it, and then go back and run all his music because a lot of it would make more sense. All right, well there goes lunch break. I'll go hit the luau. Like I said, go support Red. If you like what I do, like, comment down below, subscribe. Appreciate it very much. It does help out the channel. We'll catch you on the next.